Hello everybody, how's it going? It's Corey here for another live video tour of Paris as I wait for a few of you to sign up here and join me live. This is episode 10. This is where I take you through the streets of Paris live in real time. I see two of you are there already. Hello Anna Tinsman, who gets the award for showing up first today. I think some of you will appreciate where we're starting out today. This is the Galerie Lafayette today for episode 10. A bit of a milestone today, folks. Can you believe we're at number 10 already? I'm going to take you through the 9th Arrondissement. Send me all those hearts and thumbs up and smiley faces along the way. And I think we're going to have a great time today. I'm feeling good. The weather is nice outside. And we are in one of the premier shopping masterpieces of the 20th century. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. We are doing the 9th Arrondissement today for episode 10 of these live video walks. I'm trying to dodge the Saturday crowds here. And as some of you can tell already, we're at the Galerie Lafayette. We're going to explore the 9th Arrondissement today. I'm going to show you a bit of the Paris Opera House. Now, before we get started here, why is this so special? My goodness, we're going to stroll through nice and slow here. Well, this was finished in 1912, and this is the Galerie Lafayette in one of the great grand department stores of Paris. Bonjour Lisa, bonjour D. Hubert. And this was a new idea of, at the Galerie Lafayette, when they started out in the early 1900s and whatnot, they were doing something no one else would do. They actually had designers who were designing dresses, doing copies of high-end dresses that nobody could afford, and they were creating them at a breakneck speed, basically so they could lower the price and make knockoffs, and then the women would come here on a Monday and just gobble it up, and they just loved the new fashions. Previously, before the early 1900s, you actually would buy a couple of dresses per year, but now places like this encouraged you to come and buy seasonally for the first time ever. You could get spring fashions and winter fashions, etc. So we're just starting out here with a beautiful view of the Dome, 1912. And this just blew people away. This is so indicative of the old world of Paris, where the clientele that came expected to be impressed. They expected to be really, really blown away and taken care of. So here we are. Going to start the 9th Arrondissement of Paris with the Galerie Lafayette. Now, I've already got people looking at me here. Let's scroll down a little bit. Of course, it's a very high-end department store. People come from all over. Here's all of the Chanel perfume that you would ever need. And let's move on. Now, here in the Galerie Lafayette, by the way, 50,000 visitors every single day, probably a bit more on a Saturday like today. And it's really this idea of grouping together all of the name brands and all of the fashion accessories, and just floor after floor after floor of it. Yeah, that dome is just spectacular. You get people from all over the world here at the Galerie Lafayette. I'll do a nice slow pan for you. Particularly Asian customers like to come here. The Chinese will come here and they'll spend 1,500 euros each, mostly because back home there is actually a 20 or 30% surcharge added to all of these same brand items over in China. So they come over here and they go nuts. That's only one reason, though, why it's packed. You got locals, you got Americans, you got the whole 9 yards. So here we go. Try to get out of here and we'll hit the 9th Arrondissement. Again, this is episode number 10 of the live video walks, live video tours. Yep, there we go, almost hit a guy. All right, let's go outside. Weather's pretty nice, it's sunny, we got blue skies. And when you pop out here from the Galerie Lafayette, you've got a nice view of the back of the Opera House. So I'm gonna give you all a very nice view of that. We've got the little green man, and let's do it. We've got a series of gorgeous boulevards here. This is the arrondissement really that best exemplifies a guy named Haussmann. Some of you have heard about Baron Haussmann. And in the mid-1800s, he gives Paris one big old facelift. And this is his style of architecture all around. You have Printemps, which is another key department store. Actually, in the heyday of the department stores that Paris really invented, starting with the Bon Marché, now there are only 5 that still remain. Only 5 grand historic department stores, and the Galerie Lafayette is certainly one of the most popular on a Saturday like today. And here we go. Let me get you closer to the Opera House. People are already waving at the camera, as they do. Oh, the wind is messing with my camera a little bit. There we go. Boy, people are really obsessed with waving at the camera. So the back of the Opera House, I'll show you the facade a little later on, but I got to point out something that I really love. I can't remember in the videos if I've explained this street artist called Invader. I think I pointed out something earlier. This is a camouflaged one. So again, in a nutshell, this street artist that nobody knows what he looks like, he's totally anonymous. He puts up thousands and thousands of these mosaic examples of street art, and he's inspired by the old Space Invader video games. This one I quite like. I mean, he kind of kept it classy because he decided he's going to pop one illegally on the back of the Opera House, and he decides to camouflage it into the limestone. So, kudos to him. I guess if you're going to vandalize a beautiful 19th century building, you might as well make it look classy. Okay, so let me say hello to you all and introduce myself if you don't know me. Hi, Corey Fry here. A French fry in Paris, I call myself. Most of you know that by now. This is number 10 of my series of live video tours. It's very windy today, so you might see the wind sort of knock my camera askew from time to time, but that's all right. So yeah, here we are. We're in the 9th Arrondissement. I'm really excited to show you some stuff, some things that I'm pretty sure that you're not as aware of. Woo, it's quite a wind tunnel here. Oh my goodness, we got to get off this street. But anyway, I wanted to say hello. I'm a tour guide, I'm a photographer, I'm a blogger. I put all of that info down in the description of this video as usual. So if you're new to this series and you don't know really who I am and you want to learn more and check out some more Paris content, all of that info and the links are in the description of this video. Let me switch back around and show you Paris. Hey, Sarah Pollard, my cousin's in the house. Fantastic. On the right-hand side of me, I've got the Opéra Garnier, the Opéra Garnier, which I will show you the facade of in a moment. Look at these. Geez, they just don't build lampposts like this anymore. This is actually a ship motif, a naval vessel, which has always been a symbol of Paris. So let me give you a little look here at the side, the eastern side of the Opéra Garnier. If you're digging this right now, go ahead, throw me those hearts and the smileys and the thumbs up. And also, you can tag immediately right now. Oof, it's windy here. You can tag your friends immediately in the comments and let them know that this is going on live right now. So if they feel like walking through the streets with us, they're welcome to do so. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks, Lisa, for that. Look at this. Here's a bit of Paris meditation for you. I'll give you that composition for a minute. Beautiful light. I think you're really going to enjoy the facade of this building with the quality of light that we've got today. Hi, Catherine from Northern Cali. Karen's saying I should zip up my jacket. I got to tell you, Karen, preparing for these walks, I end up running around like a crazy person, making sure I got all my ducks in a row. So I'm actually quite warm. Don't worry about me. Look at that. Oh, it doesn't get any better than that. I've always loved this area. I really feel like I'm walking through old world Paris here. So, as we approach the Opéra Garnier, let me tell you a little bit about it. It was started in the 1860s, 1861 or so, which for Americans, interesting context, that's when we were headed into the Civil War. So it's interesting how the different continents were treating each other and what they were building and what they were destroying at that time. And in Paris in the 1860s, they had an emperor. They had the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte that we called Napoleon III. He lived down at the Louvre. Back then, the best way to distract yourself if you were a noble or an aristocrat was the opera. And really a city in Europe was only as prestigious as its opera house. And so Napoleon III decides he's going to go for broke. He's going to hold a contest, and he is going to build the most expensive and lavish opera house in the land. And he did. He certainly succeeded in that. And I'll tell you more about it when we see the facade here. I'll give you just a glimpse. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, Lee. Good morning. Thanks, everybody, if you're waking up early today, and thank you if you're staying up late. It's so great that you've decided to join me today. We're in the 9th Arrondissement enjoying the Opéra Garnier, completed in 1875, 1876, depending on which book you read. Now, let me give you something a little bit sort of close up here. As we pan across, you can see, for example, in those circular sections, there are busts of composers. So I'm looking at Mozart and Beethoven, and basically this is a great monument to music and lyrics and song and harmony. In fact, a lot of the statuary that we have, including those gilded creatures up there, are representative of things like harmony and melody and lyrics and things like that. So a guy called Charles Garnier constructed this. At the time, he was an absolute unknown. He was 35 years old. There was an anonymous contest put on by the emperor, and everyone thought that an established architect would win it. But no, it was Charles Garnier, a rather scruffy, unknown guy who had built only one single apartment building in his life, but blew people away with his anonymous proposal of this. Now, really, to appreciate it, you got to back up. So let's hit the streets again. This is Place de l'Opéra. Certainly on a Saturday, there's always quite a lot of action. Superfan Missy Lamb's trying to get me to sing already. Come on, Missy. We'll go this way. A lot of tour buses here because the buses come from the airport, from Charles de Gaulle, and they drop people off here at the opera. Yeah, I know what you mean, Deborah, with that sun. Look at that. Now I'm standing in the middle of the street, but I got to give you that. Let's see. Let's slip the lamppost in. Boom. Just a lot of beautiful moments here. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, Elijah. It is quite a beautiful day in Paris. It's a little chilly and breezy, but the sun is keeping us all in good spirits. So here's the real payoff as I swing around nice and slow for you and that beautiful Haussmannian architecture. A little glimpse of the Café de la Paix, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. Look at that. Speaking of, I know you all appreciate a good moment of light and color. Let's just pause there for a minute. Minus the enormous nondescript bus coming across. Oh well, sometimes your moments get ruined by a big tour bus. Here we go. And with my equipment, I can elevate it a little bit to give you the view here. So again, Garnier comes out of nowhere. He's 35 years old and he wins it despite not being known at all. And then he comes and he blows people away with this. It would take several years to construct it. But what's interesting is he's digging the foundations to get started. And he comes across an unknown branch of the Seine River. And all of a sudden it floods his new foundations. He pumps out the water, it floods again. So he panics and he figures out that the only way he can construct this grand opera house is to build a reservoir of water and construct the entire stage on top of this reservoir. Long story short, all of a sudden rumors spread throughout Paris of a mysterious lake beneath the new opera house, and strange occurrences like a dead dancer was found and a stagehand found hanged backstage, and all of a sudden the Phantom of the Opera legend was born. So wherever in the world the Phantom of the Opera is performed, or if you see a film, this is where it all took place. This is where the legend began. Oh, you can see the wind there blowing me around a little bit. Okay, so let's move on. I've got some more fun stuff to show you. We're at Place de l'Opéra right here. And I want to give you a little factoid. I know you guys like a good juicy fun fact. When you had a very successful show in the 1800s, this square in particular was packed with horses, horse-drawn carriages, bringing customers or audience members to the show. And the more popular the show, the more horses you would have in front of your theater. So that's why still today, to say good luck in the theater, they say merde. Merde means shit. And the reason they would say shit to each other, sorry for the young ones who are watching, the reason they would say that word for good luck is because if you had a lot of horse poo in front of your theater, then you had a very successful show. So instead of saying break a leg in France, they say that word instead. Hope you get a lot of horse poo. Interesting how cultures handle those things differently. Let me show you this. A little bit of a lens flare action, getting cinematic on you. And I promised my Patreon people, my Soulmate Society members and VIP viewers, a special Starbucks. Whew, got a lot of crowd to navigate today. If I can point you in this direction, you can see there in the distance we've got Place Vendôme. So, sorry, the famous green tower, the column of Place Vendôme in the distance there, down the Rue de la Paix. I'm really happy to show you all this quality of light today. It's pretty special. Pretty much at Place de l'Opéra, everywhere you look, you've got a stunning perspective. Oh, look at that light. Okay, so let me say hello to you again. How do you feel about Starbucks? I mean, I don't like to judge people for going to Starbucks because some people actually like the coffee. Starbucks as a corporation can do nice things for people and for their employees. But I think most of us can agree that if you're in Paris, if you're in the cafe capital of the world, of human history, going to Starbucks is maybe not the first choice or the most interesting choice. You certainly have other options. However, there's one Starbucks when you're here near the Opera House that you definitely should check out. And it's right here, and we're going to pop in. As long as I have enough signal to show you, I think you're going to be pretty blown away by this Starbucks here. So, looks like this. And I will pop the address into the description for you later on, if you want to find it. Here we go. Now, when you first walk in, it looks fairly normal, right? It's a Starbucks. But then look at this. Check that out. When this whole area was being built in the 1800s, there were aristocrats, very wealthy families that had homes here. And this used to be a home of one of those families. So these are the ceilings of the dining room, so to speak, of Starbucks. And I'll show you the people, just to show it's pretty much people doing what they always do in Starbucks. So even if you don't think it's worth it to do Starbucks in Paris, if you do have to pop into one, this is, wow, pretty impressive. Chandeliers and moldings. Hello, Jill. Hello, Phyllis. Now, again, I don't know how much signal I'm going to lose if I go further inside here, but let's give it a shot. Look at that. That's a Starbucks in Paris. Life is good. Again, I'll pop the description in there, or rather the address in the description for those who want the actual address. And there's the entrance again. Here we go. Back into this glorious light. So 2 things about Starbucks that come to mind. It reminds me that I like to drink coffee, and I know you folks do too. And I want to remind everybody, especially if you're new to this series, that every live video tour is followed by a post-tour cafe chat. So when I turn off this broadcast in a little bit, I'm going to turn on a brand new one and go live from a cafe in this area. I'm going to try to do Café de la Paix, which I'll show you in a moment. We'll see if they've got room for us there. And those cafe chats are private. They are for my Patreon members. If you're interested in being part of this project and supporting it and getting exclusive Paris content, you can join my Patreon page, where you can give a pledge each month and in return get some really fantastic rewards, like a PDF map of all of these walks so you know exactly where all this stuff is and you can find it again yourself. You can get extra live video tours. You can get extra Paris content like videos and photos and things like that. It's called Patreon. It's a pretty great way for me to focus and spend even more time on this project. Here we go. Oh, we got scooters and all sorts of things here. Look, it's crazy here today. Everywhere you look, there's a postcard. Look at that. Now, this building here that we're looking at has a famous cafe called Café de la Paix. It was actually created at the same time as the Opera House. You can see both of them side by side. And there's a hotel above it. And the hotel used to be the place to be in the early 1900s. Ernest Hemingway, the dancer Josephine Baker. Even before that, you had the great poet and playwright Oscar Wilde, who spent time there. Officers would come through and they would do lots of drugs, and they would drink alcohol, and they would hang out with ladies, and it was just absolutely one of the most luxurious hotels ever. Today, the cafe on the ground floor is one of the more expensive ones and one of the finest ones. So I'm going to try to go there later on for you today. By the way, let's go back here to Café de la Paix. Interestingly, for you Americans, there was a sculptor called Bartholdi, and Bartholdi is the one who designed the Statue of Liberty. Well, it's at this cafe, Café de la Paix, where he met with American officials for them to discuss the details of that exchange, of that gift, and what would the Statue of Liberty look like, and when would it be delivered, and all of that. So we're moving on. Hi, Ken Romero. It's good to see you, buddy. I love that we're building our little community here of Paris lovers, and it's great to see those same names come by every week. I'm waiting right now to cross the street. Yes. What we got at the end of that boulevard is the Louvre, where the previously mentioned Napoleon III resided. Incidentally, as a bit of a bonus tip, if you ever visit the Louvre, make a detour to see the Napoleon apartments where Napoleon III resided. He built this avenue. He requested this boulevard called Boulevard de l'Opéra, so that from his house, from the Louvre, he had a view like this, and he could get straight to his opera house whenever he needed to. Oh, I seem to have missed the little green man. We're going to go for it anyway. We don't have any time to lose, people. Ah. All right, we're up over 300 live viewers. That's fantastic. We're on the Boulevard des Capucines. A couple of fun things to show you here. Let me read a few comments. Sarah says the Napoleon apartments are beautiful. Thank you for that backup. Hello, Jeanne or Jean. Sorry, I pronounced your name in the French way, Jeanne. Just to show you that this area is changing. To the left of me, I have a brand new arrival. Five Guys Burgers. So, areas have to get modernized eventually. I love a good burger. That's why I can't judge people for going into Starbucks, to be honest, because occasionally I'll just decide I need a burger and fries. Because you can take the boy out of America, but, you know the old saying. Hello, Virginia. Christine, thank you. We're in the 9th Arrondissement today, and I want to show you one of my favorite secret places. In fact, two. Yeah, I'm sure some of you will be a bit shocked by that Five Guys. Doesn't seem, quite fitting to be directly across from Café de la Paix, that famous old hotel and cafe. But times change, and that's how it goes, I guess. Yeah, Erica, there's a big burger boom in Paris that has been for a few years now. They're popping up all over the place, and Five Guys has thrown their hat into the ring. There are 2 or 3 of them, at least 3 now, in the Paris region. Hi, Heidi. Oh, hi, Lisa. I'm making you nostalgic. I'm so glad. Here's an interesting address. Again, back to the Americans. Maybe this is a bit of an American-themed video. I don't know. This is a novelty restaurant called The American Dream. And it always just kind of makes me chuckle because it looks like something you'd see in Las Vegas or Disneyland. But it's right here, and again, in a very classy area. And this isn't a new arrival. This restaurant's been here for a long, long time. So if you can make it out here up top, we've got the Blues Brothers doing their thing. We've got Elvis Presley and some kind of random patrol cop. I don't know what that's about. It makes me think of Chips. Anyway, it's called The American Dream. I don't know if that makes Americans I don't know what that makes you feel as an American. Who knows how the food is? I don't think I'll ever try it. Hello, Paula from California. Is there an In-N-Out hamburger? No, I wish there was. When I spent time over towards the west, I lived in Salt Lake City for a little while. And boy, In-N-Out burger when we would go on the west coast, amazing. All right. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. We're on the Boulevard des Capucines. And there's a rather nondescript building that definitely deserves a mention. I'm at number 35 of the Boulevard des Capucines. And I got to show you this. It's a facade that's mostly glass and red trim. But here at number 35, something spectacular happened. I'm an old school art nerd, and so I love a good story about artists. So there was a collective of artists in 1874, down on their luck. Nobody really cared. They had trouble getting accepted into the salons and the exhibits of Paris back then. So they said, you know what? We're going to do something unheard of. We're just going to rent out a space right here, and we're going to show our own paintings, and we're going to charge people 5 francs, and we're going to try to sell our own pictures, which was a brand new idea in 1874. Well, they were called the Impressionists. And literally this is the first location where Cézanne, Degas, Renoir, Monet, Pissarro, they showed their work to the world in the first sort of collective exhibit that they put on themselves. It was a former photography studio of a guy named Nadar. Today it's a Hamon et Blaine. Don't know much about that store. There's a doggy on it. So fantastic to think that right here, steps from the Opera House, and the opera would have been pretty much finished by that time in 1874. This is where the Impressionists first had their exhibit. And at the time, people thought it was a joke. Nobody showed up. And it was so bad that collective, that artist collective they had created, they just disbanded it. And they all lost money. They all had to pay back money to compensate each other for the losses. So, number 35, Boulevard des Capucines. Swinging around. Here we go. There's one more space I want to show you before I sign off today. You're welcome, Nancy. I'm glad you're into the Impressionist story. Look at this light. Now, Monet and others actually painted this boulevard, and you can find that if you Google something like, for example, Monet, Boulevard des Capucines. Boy, the quality of light is just phenomenal. I have to find a crosswalk or something resembling one. Here we go. So again, I'm going to do a cafe chat for my Patreon members. If you are a member on Patreon, if you're not, you can pop over. There's a link in the description. But if you are, as we did last week, I will pop onto the Facebook chat group, the private one that we created for each other, and we'll do another live chat from a nearby cafe, hopefully Café de la Paix. We'll see if they've got room. So here we're headed toward a special spot called Place Édouard VII. In other words, Edward VII. And look, all of a sudden it's going to get quiet. Just popping off that major boulevard. We've got some shops here and some eateries. And I want to show you the square because it's far enough off the beaten track that quite a few people don't find it, even those who spend time in this area. I guess it's easy to get distracted by the Opera House, that's for sure, and then run out of time to come over here. So there was a British king called Edward VII. Very interesting character. He was the son of Queen Victoria. And in the early 1900s, he becomes the reigning king of the United Kingdom. And he loved Paris. He came here all the time. And this square is dedicated to him, Edward VII. Let me give you a little bit of Paris meditation here. That's him on the horse in the center. There's a theater on the right, as you can see, named after him, Edward VII. Little shout out to my friends at Theater in Paris. If you ever want to check out Theater in Paris, what they do is they screen films. They screen films, but I think they also do theater pieces. And there are actually subtitles or surtitles in English. So even though it's a French performance, you can actually know exactly what's going on. And they've got a great thing going there. So let's walk in here. The square dedicated to Edward VII. It's just always real quiet. It's very local. It's so regal, this square. Look at this architecture. All those arcades. It's just stunning. My goodness. I can see you all like that, all the hearts and whatnot. Edward VII, again, King of England, but he was a little bit of a playboy. He was known as sort of he enjoyed ladies, he enjoyed parties, and he would come to Paris, among other things. And again, I'm thinking of all those 10, 12, 14-year-old viewers that I have, and parents with kids. He would come to certain locations where he could meet ladies, let's put it that way, and his nickname was Dirty Birdie. And Mr. Dirty Birdie would come into Paris and spend lavish nights at these addresses with the ladies. And one of them is famous because he would order ahead of time a large copper bathtub, a red copper tub, and he asked for it to be filled with champagne before he arrived, and to have a few ladies placed in the tub as well, so they could have a little bit of a party. So that's Edward VII. Now, if any of you remember an awesome movie called The King's Speech with Colin Firth, this is the grandfather of Colin Firth's character, if that's interesting at all to you. And here's quite another bit of sort of meditative composition. Look at that. Oh, I'm just going to hold that there for a second for you all. So Edward VII. Sometimes this is referred to as a square or a place in French. They use both of those. All right. And then one last thing. Before we go and have a coffee together. Actually, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you one last look here from behind. So again, you can go to this theater, Edward VII, and you can watch French theater productions live, but with English subtitles displayed on a screen, so you can know exactly what's going on. Okay, here we go. There's another square here. There's a little bit of construction going on today. But you feel almost like you're just kind of lost in these towering arcades and these little offshoots. Look at that. It's just so good. I found this years after I moved to Paris and thought that I knew this area. And then once I discovered these little spots, man. For those of you who have been watching for, these last 10 episodes, you know that I really get into these discoveries. That's what it's all about. So real quick, there's another square that you don't want to miss once you say hello to Dirty Birdie, Edward VII. There's another one with another statue. And look at that old theater. Boom, there's another composition for us to dwell on for a moment. The Theatre Athénée, the Athena Theater, with what I would assume is about 100 years old as far as this decoration that we're looking at. Look at that. And then we'll finish with... sometimes I get excited, I move a little too fast, but I got to remember to... We got to stop and smell all these roses, don't we? So I'm going to finish with this view. Something like that. And I want to thank you so much for joining me on episode 10. I'm so thrilled that we've gotten through 10 of these, and it's just gotten more fun. I've gotten more comfortable. I'm enjoying it. I'm meeting all of you wonderful people. Send me a bunch of hearts just to let me know that you're enjoying this. And we're going to keep on keeping on every week. Pop over to Patreon if you want some exclusive content. Every week I'm dreaming up new posts and photos and videos, and you can check that out. And you can also join us on the cafe chats, which we're about to do. Again, I'm going to sign off. My name's Corey Fry, tour guide, photographer. What else do I do? Well, I do these video tours. It was a pretty good idea. We were the first ones to try this. And despite any others who want to give it a shot, I think so far we're definitely the best. And you are certainly the best. So I want to thank you so much. And remember, if you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'm going to keep bringing Paris to you. For those in my Patreon chat group, I'm going to see you in about 10 minutes. Let's see if we can get into the Café de la Paix. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me.